right? So process goals make sense to have, right? Now, what I often do with my clients at this stage is, because it really does help with that prioritization and really making sure that we are aligned with what we're trying to do. You can do this at a different stage. You can do it really before you even set the specifics, and that also makes sense. But I like to do it at this stage where I'm like, why do you actually want to achieve this goal? Right? Like, what does it actually contribute to your life? What does it actually contribute to your overarching trajectory of your life? Because you've planned that stuff out. And how is it relevant? Like why, what's the why here, right? Because if you know your why, it's far easier to actually stick to your goal rather than like, oh, it's a vague goal. Okay, we've been specific. We've really outlined a lot of stuff, but the why behind it just wasn't really there, like this is really relevant because if you have someone coming to you saying like, I want to get stronger because, my partner is sick and I have to be the one that helps carry them in and out of the toilet, or, lift them up into the bed, it's like, that's a why that's going to fucking keep you going to the gym. Make sure you're on point with this stuff, So that why is way more powerful than like, oh, why do you want to go to the gym? Other people go to it. It seems something to do, like any kind of interruption, any kind of barrier to get into the gym, if you have this vague why, it's not really, there's no actual grand scheme why for this, you're going to be interrupted in this because it's not relevant. It's not, there's no deeper meaning to this. There's no deeper reasoning, rationale, whatever words you want to use for why you are doing this activity, why you are working towards this overall goal, right? Now, again, you can do the priority list, and you can do it at that stage. You can really dive into the why behind this, but I often like to do it at this stage where we've already set the goals, because then it really makes people think if this is actually a goal that they care about. Because you can do your priority list and it's a little bit more meta, it's a little bit more above, but then when you get into the specifics and you're like, why do I care about this? And you're like, you know what, I actually don't care about this, or I care about it a little bit, but I thought it was number one priority, but it actually falls down to like 20th on the list when I really do my priority list, right? So do you have anything to say on the why, Gary?
Yeah, no, I think the why is a great question to ask, because, like sometimes people kind of just fall into the habit of doing things over and over again, just by inertia, really. One of the classic ones that I see very frequently is people in Ireland who, play GA, for example. They'll play GA from when they're kids, and their parents might be very involved with the local club and everything. And that's actually fantastic. I think it's great to keep, family tradition going and all that. But what happens is they get to, 25, 26, they're still playing with the local club. They're not actually...
Or even what often happens, it's not even local anymore. They're traveling to it.
Yeah. And they're not enthusiastic about it anymore. So they're not bringing a great attitude. They're not training specifically for it, really. It's taken away from time that they'd rather give to more things that are more meaningful to them. And they're just kind of doing it, and they might say that, oh yeah, we want to win club championship or whatever, we want to win our local league. But do you really? Like, is that something that actually matters to you? Why do you want to achieve that? And it's just one of these cases of just inertia where you've been doing it for so long that you're continuing to do it, but it's making you miserable every week when you're thinking of going to training. It's not something that occupies your thoughts when you're not there.
Kind of a sunk cost fallacy. He was like, exactly. I've already put a lot of time into this. I already have all this stuff built up. It's harder to kind of stop it because you're like, well, what did I just waste the last 10 years?
Yeah, exactly. And that's just something that you need to question yourself, because maybe it actually is worth it. Maybe your parents love you playing so much and your friends are actually on the club mean a lot to you. That actually might be worth, the little bit of suck of showing up to training, maybe. But for a lot of people, I don't think it is. And I think they're just kind of scared to stop. And GA is just the example we chose. There's many other examples of things that people do along those lines that they don't really enjoy, and that they didn't enjoy more if they were to allocate that same time to something else.
So just on that, it also happens in the opposite direction, where someone might really, like, I've just had so many clients like that, where, maybe they got into the gym because of God. They're like, I want to improve this. They spend some time, really getting into the gym. Then they kind of quit GA for a few years, but they actually realize they're like, you know what? I actually care about the sport more. That's what I actually care about. The last 2-3 years when I was focusing on gym work, it was fun and everything, but I really missed the camaraderie. I really missed the the game environment, the social environment. I really missed that kind of stuff. Like, I have at the moment 3 or 4 clients that are like, especially after 2020, it really made them think, and 2021 as well, obviously, you know, coming to the end of that year, or that year just passed, and with lockdowns and stuff, it really made them reevaluate their goals. And they're like, you know what, I actually want to get back to that. I want to get back to whatever sport it is. You know, they're like, that was actually something that I really wish I could have done more of, you know, and especially they're in their 20s or whatever, they have the ability to do it. They have the time to do it, you know, they're still in their peak, so to speak, you know, so it happens both ways.
100%, it absolutely does. And that's an important point, because sometimes people might get into something new and they think that that's now their primary goal, when in reality, what they're actually experiencing is just the short-term high of starting something new and progressing really quickly at it, you know, because when you're a beginner at something, especially if it's like a club environment, everyone's easy on you. Everyone wants you to stay. So everyone's really encouraging, and you get the easy way out of everything, and you're improving really quickly as a result. And you get compliments really easy, you know, oh, you're so good at this. But the caveat is that for someone who just started, and then you're a year in and suddenly you're kind of middle of the pack, maybe you're still not catching up with everyone, you're not great at it really, you're being treated like everyone else. That's when you find out whether or not you really like something. So don't just, you know, listen to what we said about, you know, giving something up if it's making your life miserable, and deciding, actually, yeah, do you know what, my job is shit, my relationship is shit, the gym is shit, I hate it all. Because in reality, you're probably getting slow reward from that that you don't realize it is making your life better. So don't just jump at something because it gives you a short-term reward either. But yeah, I think that covers the why. Really.
Just on that as well, like, for example, I'll use my jujitsu. Like, for me, like, I'm like, I enjoy jujitsu, but I'm also at a stage where I'm like, I know what the time commitment is. I know what the input commitment is, where I'm like, if I was to actually be like a legit, you know, black belt, where it's like, you know, fucking, you're in there competing highest level, I'm like, I'm just not willing to put in that time commitment. I'm just not willing to be on the mats fucking 8 hours per day. I'm just not willing to be like, oh, I'm going to watch videos. I'm going to watch different fucking things about this. You know, I'm like, I enjoy it for what I enjoy it. But if someone's in there and I'm like, yeah, you're really going after it, or you have these specific skill sets that, like, or, you know, attributes that allow you to be better at this, I don't get fucking frustrated. I don't get annoyed. It's not like, oh, you know, well, if I trained harder, I'd fucking do this. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, your priorities, you've prioritized this higher. Your why behind this is higher than mine. My why behind this is I just enjoy, you know, having some sort of, we'll call it physical, like, fighting practice in my life. You know, it could be fucking sambo. You know, if I moved to fucking country and it was in Russia, I'd like, oh, I'm not tied to Brazilian jiu-jitsu. There is some sambo clubs in London though. Where I'm like, you know, it could be that. It could be back to boxing. It could be fucking, I don't know, Muay Thai. It could be fucking anything. Where I'm like, I know that I enjoy that. And yeah, I'm willing to commit the next fucking 10 years of my life to trying to get a black belt. But I'm also well aware of the trade-offs for me, because I'm like, I understand my why. I understand why I am doing this and how it fits into my overall priority list of all the other stuff, you know?